For the October 12th presidential election on the fight against poverty, the fight against unemployment, October 4th, 2025, which is a forum where we bring on board candidates or their representatives to tell Cameroonians what they intend to do if given the opportunity on October 12, 2025. And today we have representatives of 5 different candidates here on set. We shall be going straight away to welcome them in no particular order. I will begin from my right, where I have Prince Ekoso. Is the president of the United Socialist Democratic Party, but he is on this set to represent candidate Tomano Patricia Ndamjoya, the lone lady on the presidential race. Prince, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. I take this opportunity to greet my fellow panelists, especially my brother and friend that we have not seen for a very long time. And I'm honored to be here to be able to discuss our issues in regards to the election.
Yeah.
And particularly on the program of Madame Tomano Ndamjoya, with whom we have been working for a very long time, especially with regards to the amelioration of the electoral code since 2021. About 7 political parties came together to develop a proposal of the electoral code, which we did, and we have presented it to the powers that be and to the Cameroonian public. And so since 2021 until now, we have been working very closely, and our hope was that from the consensual electoral code program or project, we're going to migrate to a consensual candidate for the 2025 presidential election. And that is the same dynamics that I and USDP keeps on following. And we are very hopeful and continue to press that by maybe the 7th of October or maybe the 10th of October, we are going to have a consensual candidate to be able to front the candidate of the ruling party.
Okay, we see your hope of a consensual candidate is still very much alive, though most Cameroonians are already discouraged. Yeah,
you know, one of the things that I believe strongly is that people should be able to have conviction.
Okay.
When you have a conviction on something, you are able to press in towards that conviction to be able to obtain a given result. And it is the cry of Cameroonian people that the candidates, especially 11 of them who are of the opposition, should be able to come together and to be able to front the ruling candidate. And because we have seen in the dynamics of politics in our country that a single candidate with the single candidate of the ruling party has had a lot of difficulties to be able to bring change that we all desire. So Cameroonian people have always asked that the opposition should be able to come together and to be able to bring a consensual candidate. And that is the vision that we have to follow. We have to follow the aspirations of the people.
Okay, thank you so much. Next to you is Mr. Alois Jean-Baptiste Eyeya Amot. I don't know if I got it well. Exactly. Yes, he is a representative of the youngest candidate on the race, Samuel Hiram Iyodi. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Greetings to all my co-panelists. Critical epoch of our history, where we are coming together to elect the 3rd president of the Republic of Cameroon. And we extend especially our greetings to our president, who is presently touring the Cameroon, shining with the proximity he's having with the people. He is presently in Konsamba, where he just concluded his campaigns there, and then he'll be moving tomorrow to Dikidimeki, where he's going to have a series of meetings before heading to Limbe, Boya, and vehiculating the message of change, the message, and showing to Cameroonians the ballot that they are going to vote on the 12th of October.
Okay, we also have Mr. Bruno Lombo Ebala.
Exactly.
Mr. Bruno Lombo Ebala is of the Pius Party. Flag bearer Serge Espoir Matumba, who is on the race for the 2nd time. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me greet all my fellow co-panelists this evening. And I see the opportunity today to say hi to Celso Matomba, who is actually on his way to the north with the campaign team. Okay. He has been traveling all over Cameroon since and before these elections. And we hope that at the eve of the 12th of October, he's going to be the first president of an independent Cameroon.
Okay, thank you so much. We have, on my left, we have Barrister Dieudonné Tedjisse. Okay, he is the president of the CPPDC party, but he is here on his capacity to represent the flag bearer of the FSNC party, Mr. Issa Chiroma Bakari. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening to the televiewer. Thank you for receiving us to carry the voice of President Issa Chiroma Bakari, who is actually in Bamenda. And I hope this evening we are going to be able to bring proper solution to Cameroonians so as to indicate them the person to vote without quarreling.
Sure.
Because, you know, we spend a lot of time in Cameroon quarreling, making what people used to call gossip, Kongosa. We don't want Kongosa politics. We want to go straight to the point, bring proper solution, because Cameroonians are tired of diversion. We want to bring you proper solution, and we hope the solution we'll be bringing this evening will convince those who will be voting on the 12th to cast their ballot for President Issa Chiroma Bakari, so that we will build the country together. We met 1 week ago, and he told me, Mr. President, you are my hands, you are my foot. Okay. Carry the message right to the last village of our country. Bring them the message to show them that whatever may be the situation, even though we have been faced, dies he is. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The fifth panelist we have today is Jean-Marc Afesi Mbafo. He is representing the ruling party, the CPDM. Mark, you're welcome.
Hi, sir. Thank you for having me here this evening. It's the first time for me. I've not been very used to panels of political debate like this one, and I hope you'll be also the beginning of many more such panels for me. It'll be a wonderful experience, I hope, given the panelists on the table with whom, most of whom I have already a good relationship with, whom I also acknowledge, whose presence I acknowledge. I also want to acknowledge our televiewers who are taking up their time to listen to us today. And I hope in this debate and this intellectual intercourse we'll be able to satisfy them with the different offers we have on the topic which you're presenting before us, the fight against corruption, unemployment, and poverty. For me, it's a wonderful experience to share this panel with this variety of political offers. Yeah. And I would say I give credit to my national chairman, the national chairman of our party, who has fought hard for liberties and plurality in Cameroon, and through whom we can have this diversity of political...
This jingle, we shall be coming back to dive into our discussions proper. You're welcome back. Prince, maybe we begin by looking at the campaign activities. We are 1 week gone. What is the feedback like of the campaign activities of your candidates on the field?
Well, basically, candidate Madame Tomano Namdoya is doing extremely well. Okay. We must understand that she's a well-experienced politician. After staying with one of the, I can say, founders of multipartyism in Cameroon, who was her late husband. Yeah. She has gathered a lot of experience that provide her with the kind of stamina which she is providing on the field at the moment. Mm. And we know that she's been on a series of trips, be it in Cameroon and out of Cameroon. Yeah. And we have seen the galvanization around her candidacy and the support that she's receiving from Cameroonians, both at home and in the diaspora. Especially, it's true that I don't want to be I don't want to have a notion of sexism in this
Okay.
surrounding her campaign.
Yeah.
But we must understand that we have about
Get your mic closer to you.
we have about
Female, yeah.
express the desire that it is about time that we have a
Female
female
president.
as the president of the country. Those who are against that philosophy provide a certain degree of arguments which, in my view, I think that those arguments are archaic because if we are truly in a democracy, democracy is the will of the people. And we have seen that other countries have had female presidents, female prime ministers, and so on. Why can't we be the country in Africa and in the world that will be able to provide, a way forward in terms of democracy in this country? So our campaign is going very well. She's in Douala currently.
Yeah.
And from Douala, we are going to be announcing her next step or her next town where she'll be galvanizing Cameroonians to be able to make sure that they vote for her massively come October 12, 2025.
Jean-Baptiste, how is it going?
Thank you for that very beautiful question. As you rightly said, our candidate, Samuel Iram Iodi, is more close to the people. And I think he's one of the candidates who have gone really to experience the cry of the people wherever they are. He just completed his tour in the north, where we saw him in the different towns, being with the people, and then shining with the proximity. And then we saw he ended in the north with the Mount Gandere, where all the story started. Mount Gandere, where all the story started, where he received that call to leave from just social works in order to go into politics and really revive Cameroon as we aspire to do. So he is presently, as earlier said, he is presently in Konsamba, and next week, that is tomorrow, he will be moving to Limbe and Boya, and where he is planning also to continue meeting the people and bringing about the message of salvation, let's call it like that, because we are aiming at liberating Cameroon. We feel that Cameroon is full of potential. Cameroon is full of, has a brighter future. And what is needed is a key. And that's why we are 12. And these 12 keys, I hope we will have the occasion
Of course,
to unleash them to our
how many regions has he touched this far during the official campaign period?
Yeah, we need to remind to Cameroonian people that as a politician, Serge Matumba is not waiting the campaign to rally Cameroon. Since 2023, I think this is the third time Matumba is doing the tour of the various regions. And this will be the third time this year.
Okay.
So we have been moving all through Cameroon to, firstly, to install our unities, ourselves, our political cells in all over the regions. And then the second time we've gone through to implement what we call the debate on social and economic development.
Yeah.
This issue consisted in going across the country, talking with people, taking into account what are their desires, what are their challenges, and what are their real problems, the problem that they face every day. And that's how we came out with our program. Our program stems out from all the issues and the challenges people are facing
on daily basis.
On daily basis, exactly. So our program is mainly talking about liberty. We should free Cameroon from neo-colonialism. Okay. That's why our manifesto is called Liberty. And the core pillars of what we talk about liberty are identity, who is to be defined as a Cameroonian, one unity. Actually, we're actually fighting for two languages, French and English. How comes that we have Francophones and Anglophones in a country where, in those days, we didn't have those languages to separate? We are all
before the separation.
So we need to settle down that identity with the unity of Cameroon by saying we don't need to have Francophones and Anglophones. And I think that's one of the quarrel in the Anglophone crisis, language, which is a colonial inheritance.
Okay.
So the last core pillar is sovereignty. We think that Cameroon, since 1960, even before, has not been an independent country. Why
fully independent, or you think that has not been?
We have not been independent, because since then, in 1960, when we had a decree making Cameroon an independent country, we are not able to face our challenges by our own forces. It's very important for us to make sure that we get rid of that neo-colonialism that is putting us in a situation where we cannot decide for ourselves. Okay. So it's very, very important to make to settle that base in our discussion for us to understand what program or project Peace is offering for the Cameroonians. Okay,
Barrister, you've been in the North, you are currently in the Northwest, I don't know, you're in the Northwest today. I want to get from you, when you move around meeting Cameroonians to talk to them, what is your attitude towards this election?
Most of them are believing that there's going to be a change in Cameroon. And today, President Issa Chiroma Bakari is inspiring people. He's like somebody was expected for years. He's a scarce star. And today, as I said earlier, Cameroon is not looking for a messiah. Okay. Cameroon is looking for somebody who will bring proper solution to our problem. And saying so, you have unemployment matters, you have ongoing crisis, you have matter concerning ID card, birth certificate, we have so many infrastructure. President Issa Chiroma Bakari is here to tell Cameroonians about their problem and how to bring proper solution. And there is something which is very important to indicate. We are born Cameroonian. We will live Cameroonian and will die Cameroonian. And before 2025, we are Cameroonian. After 2025, we will be Cameroonian. It is important to understand that there is no part of this country which belongs to others and other part which belongs to others. We are all sorts of Cameroon. And that is why he was talking at his first speech concerning consensus candidate. We are surprised to see that there are so many political parties who are gathering around President Issa Chiroma Bakari. Today, I will tell my brother of South, North, Northwest, Southwest, East, that let us come together to build a country. And people must understand that belonging to different party does not make us enemy. We need to debate and not to fight. We need to debate and not to fight. And people must understand that Cameroonian today, there is no family which is mono-ethnic. All of us, we have more than 5, 6, as I'm concerned, I have 45 divisions in my family. Okay. That is why I speak so many languages. So it is important. And those administrative authorities must understand that they are not belonging to a party. They are civil servants. They are being paid with the money of our... Let them understand that if tomorrow morning, Cameroon decide to say, okay, President Chiroma Bakari, you are the one to go and swear in, everybody just say, Ogadavu. Full stop. And we need to work together to build our nation because our nation is wounded. Our nation is wounded. And if you are a chief of family, when you have children who are crying, to understand the scale of determination of Cameroonian people, know that when you don't know the direction of wind, you don't play with pepper powder. If you play with pepper powder, it may finally enter into your eyes. It's very important.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Afesi, 1 week gone, Cameroonians are still waiting for President Paul Biya on the field. It's true, you've launched your campaign throughout the 10 regions simultaneously from last Saturday. Are we going to see President Paul Biya go down to the field before we wrap up the campaign.
Hassan, thank you once again for the floor given. And I admire and I'm really happy with the rhetoric around the table on this during this debate. I like one thing which my brother on the right just mentioned. Let's have a debate, let's not fight. Yeah. I think that's just copying from what our national chairman has always preached.
Okay.
Débattons, ne nous battons pas. So I'm happy with that rhetoric, because sometimes we think at seasons like this where we are witnessing what I call a political vente aux enchères. Expectations are high.
Of course.
Tempers tend to flare up, and we forget that after Cameroon, after all of this, we remain
elections will remain Cameroonians.
And these are things which our National Chairman, Excellency President Paul Biya, has always and consistently preached about. So I'm happy that more and more political parties are heeding to that call to civil and cordial debate over issues, because if a school is built, it's built for both the opposition and for the government. Yeah. If a hospital is built, the hospital doesn't serve people based on their political leanings. So I'm happy to hear that. Coming to the CPDM, 1 week on, the campaigns are going on well. We've launched our campaigns, and I mean the images have been everywhere. The fast and pageantry and pomp of which we launched our campaigns. The populations are enthusiastic about our campaign. Our militants are galvanized and mobilized as never before to give our National Chairman, His Excellency President Paul Biya, a resounding victory on the 12th of October. You asked about our National Chairman being on the field. Definitely he'll be on the field. Okay. His program is being fine-tuned. He's announced that in Marwa, and probably in the center region, somewhere in the center region. So we are on the field. We are campaigning hard. And we are following what our National Chairman has always prescribed, not to underestimate our opponents, but we respectfully take them on in any, wherever we may take them on as far as these campaigns are concerned.
And what do Cameroonians tell you on the field?
No, Cameroonians are expectant. Okay. Cameroonians are expectant. Every political season, like I said, is a new season, it's a new door, it's a new window that's opening for the nation. And of course, it comes with a lot of expectancy. Cameroonians are expectant. When you go through our manifesto, for those who have gone through the manifesto, and I want to invite all of those on the panel to go through our manifesto, it's a lot of hope. And even our slogan of our elections, greatness and hope. So Cameroonians are expectant of the next 7 years, after having gone through these 7 years, which has been 7 years of laying down serious foundation stones for a great and prosperous republic in the next, as we move forward.
Okay, thank you so much. Like we indicated, our focus today is on fighting poverty, fighting unemployment, and of course, fighting corruption. Before we get to you to know exactly what you are proposing, Prince, I would like us to paint a picture, because if you want to solve a problem, it means you know the problem. What do you make of the poverty situation of Cameroon?
Well, you know, when it comes to talking about the problems of our country, sometimes I feel a little bit lost, because the problems are overwhelming, you know. And after living a situation that we have been living, you know, for 43 years, it's a little bit difficult to always try to repeat those problems. But I must tell our good friend, whom I love very much, that there are certain honesty that we must be able to confront in our pursuit to make sure that whatever vision and ambition we have for the country, be it from the perspective of the CPDM. And I want to recall that some weeks or maybe a month ago, we saw one of your militants, who is a minister in Bamenda, you know, reiterating the fact that people must be honest about the in the context in Cameroon, for people to actually say what is the reality. And in my years of politicking, I've always stood on the grounds of honesty and truthfulness. Okay. Because with that, we can solve many problems easily. But when we lie to ourselves that those problems don't exist, we find ourselves in a cloud of situations that becomes extremely difficult. For example, look at the state of the roads in our country. The state of the roads in our country calls for urgent reforms and restitution of certain ethics when it comes to leadership in our country. Because without ethics in leadership, there will be degradation of structures. For example, take the road from Yaoundé to Boya on TV and castigate some of their colleagues, saying that the state of the road, especially in the southwest,
It's terrible.
especially from Douala to Boya, is horrific. So the problems are enormous. And this is a call not only for the rest of the candidates, but for also the ruling party, that just like my brother, the barrister, was saying, this country belongs to us. There is no other country we can go and fix more than the country that we call our own.
Yeah.
And it is incumbent on us, whether you find yourself with President Chiruma, or you find yourself with Madame Tomanon Tamdoya, or you find yourself with whosoever who is a candidate in this period of election. There is one thing that is a call for concern: the problems that our country is going through. And I'm not trying to fast forward to go into the discussion of the day, but look at the employment rate of our country with regards to the youths. In Cameroon, about 50,000 students graduate from state universities every year. 50,000. What are the dynamics put in place, by the regime in place to be able to make sure that these 50,000 students are absorbed by the system, even if not by the system per se, but by a kind of program that is put in place to be able to absorb these students immediately they graduate from the state universities. I'm talking about state universities, not even private universities. So I can go as far as I can, but because of the timing and the debate, I'll end here for now.
Okay, Jean-Baptiste, the picture of the level of may not be pleasing to you that you think that you are coming in now, or your candidate is coming in now to solve.
Thank you for that question. When we want to talk about poverty of a country, we look at the poverty with respect to the potential of that country.
Yeah.
When you try to find out, go through the findings and check about the richness of our country, and then you see the state of affairs. My brother spoke about roads. I will speak about hospitals. I will speak about schools. I will speak about electricity. I will speak about clean water. You will understand that we are very far from achieving what we need to achieve. But Cameroonians have entered into the state of habituation. Some think that is the normal way of being. That is why some people can easily be lured by a little piece of bread or a little gadget in order to take their vote. But when we talk about a reform, Cameroonians need a kind of reformation. First, in the level of education. We need to make sure that we build a system of education that responds to the aspirations of Cameroonians, that is there to solve the core problem of Cameroonians, which we are talking about poverty here. Cameroon is very rich, but the system we put in place in order to build Cameroonians, in order to be able to unleash the potential of Cameroon is very poor. That is why where we come in now, we come in with a strategy. A strategy will aim at making sure that Cameroonians, first of all, become rich mentally, because when you talk about poverty, poverty is not only about a physical lackness. No, we are talking about also a mentality. Know that we are rich, be proud of our identity, and now work on what we have by building a system of education that make Cameroonians to become entrepreneurs, that make Cameroonians to become productive, making use of their skills, making use of their abilities in order to come out of the state of poverty we found ourselves in. Okay. When you actually go out of this country, I'm very sure many of the panelists here have gone out, and then you see how other countries who may not be as rich as we are living. Sometimes you feel ashamed. Sometimes you feel ashamed. We have what it needs, what it takes to be a very developed country before reaching 2030 or 2032. So we actually need a mandate, a strong mandate, a mandate of rupture, not a simple change of face at the head of at the summit of our state. No, we need a reformation. I still insist on the fact that we need a reformation, not a change of face at the summit of the states, but a reformation, a complete rupture from a system in order to bring something new that responds to the aspirations of Cameroonians.
Okay, Bruno, some are of the opinion that the gap that exists between the very rich and the very poor is that the gap is very wide. Is that the regard in which Pius looks at this country?
You know, we should be very careful when we decide to talk about words like poverty. Yeah. What is poverty actually? Are we talking about living standards, or are we talking about economic growth? What is our target when we
beginning from the living standards of Cameroonians?
Exactly. If I take, for example, my grandmother in a village, is she poor? I mean, she has her cocoyam from her farm, her pepper from her farm, everything comes from her farm. She eats every day. Are we going to say she's poor? Even if she does not have maybe 500 francs per day? Because people will define poverty as what we define as poverty in our own environment, in our own context. That's why we, in the United People for Social Innovation, we focus on objectives. That's why we say a roof over your head. Because if you have a roof over your head, no, we say you are poor. If you have your own shelter, you have your own house, you will not say you are poor.
Of course. When you cannot afford the basic needs.
Exactly. If you have 3 meals a day, morning, afternoon, and evening, are you going to say you are poor? The definition of poverty will change. And then if you can guarantee you go to hospital, you have free education and security, you cannot be feeling like a poor person. And those are the objectives we, in the United People for Social Innovation, we said we want to put in place. So poverty, we are not defining poverty according to international standards. We need to go through those challenges and make sure that everyone has the minimum.
That's why
for a living.
When I read through your program, I saw 3 meals a day.
Exactly.
We are very much interested in that. Which problem did you identify that you want to solve with 3 meals a day?
Actually, as I said, people in various parts of the countries do not have the same, the same means of living. That's why we need to make sure every Cameroonian, everywhere he is, girl and boys, men and women, everywhere they are, to make sure that they have the 3 meals a day. And that aspect brings us to agricultural expansion. That is a core aspect in our program. Because what we need to understand here is that we cannot talk about poverty oversee of the situation. When you talk about poverty, you need to talk about agriculture. When you talk about poverty, you need to talk about employment. When you talk about poverty, you need to talk about education. What is the main objective? What is the vision around all those aspects to make sure that everyone lives in good condition, everyone has a shelter, and everyone can actually say we are not poor? Those are the main objectives that we want to achieve at the eve of the 12th of October.
Barrister?
When we're talking about poverty in Cameroon, the deepest poverty we have is spiritual and cultural poverty. They have said something about education. If you want to improve living conditions of people, you must touch education. Our educational system is training job seekers. and President Issa Chiroma Bakari, together with us, we are intending to change the curricula of our educational system so as to make that, than to be going to school to seek for certificates, you are being trained to do something with module containing 4 aspects: design, manufacturing, mounting, and control. He talked about agriculture. We have 58 divisions in Cameroon, 42 divisions carrying a name of a river. How managed we reach the level that we are importing rice, we're importing maize, Maven maize from Kenya. We're importing everything. Our economical system is based on importation. Whereas our school can train our children so much so that they can be able to be independent from that position. I am indicating something. Today, we can no more continue with this system into which, why a small Chinese of 13 years is producing this phone, our own child of 30 years is dancing the mole. It is unacceptable.
Mole is culture.
Mole is
Even
culture.
if you can produce a phone, you should learn to dance mole.
I support mole singers, but can they finish mole and after they go to hospital to take care of themselves? Can they build a house? Can they? There are so many things to do. You have talked about infrastructure. The system today, we with President Chiroma Bakari, we are bringing what we call build, operate, and transfer. He was talking about road. We have a very big port in Kribi, but moving from Kribi to Ideya is a nightmare. Okay. With President Chiroma Bakari, we will say, okay, Mr. Chair, you build a route, 64-meter width, 8 ways, and you manage the road for 20 years. You take care of the toll gate, the way bridge, and every passenger moving from that way, you collect 100 francs per ticket. And you refund back 20% of that amount to the state. And you are compelled to build a hospital every 50 kilometers so as to enable, when there are cases of accident, they intervene immediately. That is the way of fighting against poverty. Okay. We have so many products produced in Cameroon. Why are we not able to settle transformation pools in every division? I will talk about Fako, Meme, Manyundia, Lebialem. We have rubber there.
Sure.
Actually, are we transforming our rubber there? No. We are compelled to export it to in other countries and be importing what we call Akika, Fiperi. We must stop being a country of Akika. We must transform our products here, and by doing so, we will improve the living conditions of our population. He indicated something. Poverty is not the fact of having money. It's first of all spiritually. And we have Anaga, Jailobo, who are cultivating cocoa. How many that 1 liter oil of cocoa is 62,500 a liter, cold one, press. Why can we not settle a manufacturing company in every division where cocoa is produced?
Okay.
Those are the way we want to empower Cameroonians. Let us stop depending on international market. And there's something which is very important. Actually, we have environmental and climate change. We are destroying our forests, which is a sign of poverty too. So it is important today that we must settle enterprises to transform our goods locally, so much so that we'll be able to equilibrate commercial balance that will make our country be respected on international scene. And it is important to notice that for 42 years, they have been unable to foresee the future. Actually, we need to restart everything together and to rebuild a great nation by making population become citizen.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Afesi, when you move around like a politician, what do you make of the living standards of Cameroonians? You of the ruling party.
Thank you for the floor given again. And again, I think I will spend this whole debate being elated after hearing what's been doing and is doing and is proposing to do. We have a topic on the table.
Yeah.
Fight against unemployment, fight against poverty, fight against corruption. Yeah. A lot of my panelists have dwelled on unemployment and poverty, and which I put in, I would say, almost in one basket. I was National Youth Council President from 2013 to 2018. And as in my capacity of National Youth Council President, I went through Cameroon. Yeah. And one thing that came out from the youth that I met and had the privilege to discuss and exchange with was the whole issue of unemployment. Okay. And I was privileged to work on the PANEJ, Plan d'Action National de l'Emploi des Jeunes, at the Ministry of Employment and Vocational Training. I'll again evoke certain statistics from the National Institute of Statistics. Employment touches the age bracket of 25 to 35 most, as age bracket most hit in Cameroon. Of that age bracket, 14% have some form of higher education study. Yeah. About 7% secondary education, about 3%, about 4% primary education, and 3% underscholarized. When you look at these statistics, you quickly see there's a problem with our educational system. Why do we have so much high employment rate from the scholarized youth? But our head of state, national chairman, our champion, understood that, yes, our educational problem could be a problem, but we have to capacitate our youth to be able to create jobs for themselves, or at least have the skills that can get them employed. Hence the Ministry of Employment and Vocational Training, and axing a lot of his policy on the Ministry of Employment and Vocational Training. And my colleague on the left,
on the right,
sorry, who is the flag bearer for the candidate, his candidate, had to manage that ministry for solutions to handle his unemployment problem at the time when he managed that ministry. Well, unfortunately, we can't get that. But the head of state has had that as a priority going on. And in his manifesto, point 6 in his manifesto, he addresses 4 issues in his manifesto. First of all, recognizing the status of the youth and the women. Secondly, reinforcing structures that have to accompany youth as far as giving the capacities they need to self-employ. Because no state can employ, my colleague Randy pointed out, 50,000 students coming out from state universities every year. Yeah. There is no state in the world that can employ or that can give direct employment to that kind of number. Not Cameroon, anyway. So we have to create an ecosystem that will enable these youth to get employment. And that's what the head of state has been doing and promises to continue to do, reinforcing these structures. Again, I'll refer us to his manifesto, point 6 of his manifesto. We have structures which are put in place, be it in the Ministry of Youth, particularly in the Ministry of Youth, structures like FONIGE, PAGER-U in the time, PIFMAS, which had to finance, and which financed a number of youth. Today we're talking about FONIGE, PTS Jeunes. In the last, since 2017, 5,845 youth funded, projects funded, and these youth are employing other youths. So trying to address the issue of unemployment and poverty. Since 2010, if we go back to as far back as 2010, we have over 20,000 youth micro projects, employment, and of course, poverty.
From 2010 to present, can you nod your head that the situation is getting better?
Of course, the facts are there. The statistics are there. The situation is getting better. We will definitely want to do more. And he says, of course, he promises to do more. And that's why in his manifesto, he keeps using terms like strengthen, reinforce.
Yeah.
You don't strengthen what does not exist.
Yeah.
You don't reinforce what does not exist.
Okay.
So definitely things are improving, things are better. But also he's had to deal with exogenous shocks as far as internal shocks, which have sometimes been a threat to the great work which he's been deployed to do.
Okay.
But he's working on the right track and we're moving forward.
Okay, there is this noise on the minimum wage of the country, which many believe that some pretend to be working and they take home apparently nothing. I will begin with Pius. Do you have any plan on the minimum wage of the country? Is it okay with Pius at 42, or you have some other plans maybe to move it from 42 to another amount?
No, let's say that we have our plan is based on a fact, which is you cannot actually solve the issues and problems that we have now without having a proper vision, a proper overall vision of what you want to do. Because talking about one subject without taking into account the fact that the other sectors are going to affect what you do, it's purely magic.
Let me put it this way. What is your vision on the minimum wage?
Anyway, if you want to state a minimum of wage, it therefore means that you are thinking of a Cameroon within the current context. What we are saying is that we cannot actually give a wage because we don't actually master all the statistics accordingly.
Okay, Jean-Baptiste?
So it's not really easy. So we need to focus on what is important right now to settle a wage. That's why we don't really focus on figures right now, because we need to really come out with statistics that are going to give us the way and the path to follow.
Okay, Jean-Baptiste?
We are definitely not happy with the current wage rate Cameroonians are having. That's why we have devised a mechanism to make sure that the government expenditures are being brought to the minimal. That is money spent on unnecessarily. That's why we intend to downsize the government from 63 that we currently have to 20. You see that that's significant, and that will cost a lot of millions being saved per year. And these millions are going to be redistributed to Cameroonians so that Cameroonians in their entirety can enjoy the fruits of our country. So let's take an example of the Ministry of Education. We are talking about education. We have up to 4 to 5 ministries connected to education. We have the basic education, secondary education, then we have informal education and all that. So if we bring them back as they were, we don't even know what the main reasons why they were subdivided. If we bring them back to one common ministry, we'll be saving a lot of money, saving money to buy very luxurious cars, portfolios, budgets. We'll bring them there and then try to redistribute the money to finance projects that matter and to make sure that Cameroonians enjoy the fruits of the country.
Prince, what is Tomaino proposing as the minimal take-home package for Cameroonians who are working?
Yeah, before I answer that question, I was being reluctant to be able to maybe get into the subject matter per se, or maybe to be able to explain some of the aspects that the candidate is proposing. We'll be talking about corruption and unemployment, and
we shall get to corruption proper. Let's dwell much on poverty and unemployment.
Yeah, one of the things that people should be able to know, or Cameroonians know already, is that employment is very, very high in Cameroon. And I'm happy that my brother has made certain pronouncement with regards to the statistics and the percentage, classified, and I calculated it, and I discovered that it's about 14% out of that population that ranges from 18 to 35. And that population ranging from 18 to 35 is about 65 to 70% of the population of Cameroon. Yeah. And now, if you take away 14% of that 65 or 70% of the population, you will understand that the poverty is hitting the backbone of the nation, which is the youth. And Madame Damjoya has proposed severally that one of the areas to curb unemployment in this country is a domain which she has the impression that we have actually minimized or forgotten about that domain, the domain of agriculture. Agriculture is the backbone of, wealth in many developing nations or developed nations already. For example, take for example America. Why was there a slave trade movement in the early centuries? It was because our brothers from Africa were shipped out to go and work the farms.
The plantations, yeah.
The plantations. And the plantation became the driving force of the economy of the United States, Great Britain, and many other countries in Europe today. And that is why the agricultural domain in Cameroon should not be just a domain which is seen from the Ministry of Agriculture. My brother rightly explained some of the projects that the current government has been able to propose and giving subventions to youths who have been able to create, I don't know what kind of project. But these projects are not visible to the eyes of Cameroonians. For example, if I may ask, for the 14% that he mentioned about, the 3% is for maybe the first school living certificate, and 4% is for ordinary levels, and maybe 7% is for maybe advanced level to maybe master's degree and thereabout. Who among these people can come on a set like this and say, I received this amount of money from the government, and this is the project that I've been able to do, and these are the recruitments that I've been able to make. So what we are saying is that in the domain of agriculture, we have vast land in Cameroon. We had proposed no need of carrying people and jailing them. Some youths are in cells, are in prisons for no just cause. We proposing that some of those energies will employ them and give them land to cultivate. Remember, we have around Cameroon a population of close to, let me say, 900 million. Take, for example, Nigeria. Nigeria is about 300 million, right?
Yeah.
There are things that Nigeria don't have and depends on Cameroon. Gabon depends on Cameroon. In terms of food,
yeah.
Central Africa depends on Cameroon. Equatorial Guinea depends on Cameroon. Congo, Brazzaville depends on Cameroon, and so on and so forth. If you are able to grow, let me say, for example, cassava, which is a project which the regime had put in place. I remember in the yesteryears, there was a project in Moyoka to be able to transform cassava into some other products. That project has never seen the light of day. Never. If you take, for example, another product like fruits, like, for example, carrots or pawpaw fruits, or maybe orange fruits or watermelon, which is highly in demand in the town of Yaoundé. If, for example, you recruit, let me say, 500 youths who are growing just watermelon, which is a product that has short term of production. If you employ 500 youths in the project of Madame Damjoya, that employment rate is huge in terms of the employment rate that we have at the moment. So these are some of the things. Only in the domain of agriculture, you have already absorbed about 500 to 1,000 to even 2,000 young Cameroonians. Some of them who have even gone to some of these professional schools that we have, like the School of Agriculture and so on and so forth. How many of these young people who graduate from some of those schools are actually entrepreneurs in the domain?
Okay.
Which means I buy to some of the subscriptions that some of us have made here, that our curriculum in the educational sector is not responding to the needs of the time and the needs of the people,
and that is where,
especially the youth.
That is where I was coming in, because four of you seem to have a problem with the educational system. Yeah. Now, what is the problem, and concretely, what are you proposing? How do you intend to restructure the educational system?
I wanted, before reaching that level, because you see, you have asked minimum of wages, everybody is turning.
Yes. Maybe you answer that before
yes.
you get to...
Previously, as my neighbor said earlier, President Chiroma Bakari was in the car driven by somebody else. Now he's the one...
Okay, you mean he was like, what they call in Pidgin, the motorboy?
Motorboy.
Okay.
Today...
Now he wants to be the driver.
Yes.
Okay.
We can increase minimum wage at 150,000 francs. Okay. How?
From 42,000 francs?
No, 150,000 francs.
I mean from 42,000 where we are now?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't want to consider that position because that is past.
Okay.
So, how do we proceed? By changing the curricula of training. Every educational option chosen by a child is a job. And therefore, we have prepared what we call youth avenue allowances of 100,000 per month. Where does money come from? We levy the fund by cutting 2 francs per minute of calls and internet connection. We are making minimum of 120 million minutes of call per day. Times 4, it is 480 million, times 20 million subscribers, were 96 billion per day, times 30 days, it is 2,880 billion.
Okay, I like
whereas,
okay.
It is important.
Yes.
Whereas we have children from the age of 10 to the age of 29, they are 9,500,000 above. 4,400,000 guys, 4,800,000 girls, and 300 will die between that age. You see that by doing so, your child will be receiving 1,200,000 per year just because you have been cutting 2 francs per minute of call. This Cameroon is rich, but Cameroonians are poor. Okay. And by doing so, when we change the curriculum of training, that means we have agriculture, we have transforming rubber, we have so many sectors. We bring down taxes, and since we are training now job creator, there will not be no more job seeker. You see that you have the money available, they can enable you to have a credit somewhere to create a company employing others.
Where will you begin professionalizing it? Is it at the level of the nursery?
No. From nursery school. In America, okay, when the child is just 3 years old, they make him select a particular thing.
He's passionate
of, and then they follow him from there. He was talking about the presence of our president in the Ministry of Youth and Employment. How do you want the minister to... When you have 2,440 secondary school teaching general discussion, only 791 schools. Yes, it is important.
But a class 1 child, I was told, carries almost 18 books to school. Are you saying that they carry those books to go and sing and dance?
Anyway, I wanted to indicate, to be serious, that we need to change the curriculum of training as from the beginning. Okay. And it is emergent because the day to come, he has just said something I appreciated.
Okay.
50,000 children come out from university. They have been sending us dreams. Every year. Today we say that, my fellow countrymen, with President Chiroma Bakari, will be able, by changing the curriculum of training, transforming all what we need in Cameroon. And we cannot create a job without energy, without making sure that people have access to land. And you know that if you are not born from 1974, you cannot have a land direct immatriculation.
Yes.
Those are the reform President Chiroma Bakari will bring on the table. And there's something I want to indicate. we are about 30,200,000 Cameroonians. We propose a pass health system into which every Cameroonian will be contributing minimum of 2,000 per month. It will give a minimum of 60,400,000,000. Times 12 months, it is 724 billion to take care of Cameroonians concerning the health system. By doing so, your salary will enable you to live. You understand what I'm saying?
Anyway, we'll get to that. Let's get to Bruno.
Yeah.
What is the vision of PUSE on education? Are you okay with the current system, or you intend to retouch it?
First of all, we should mention that the fact that the educational system should be tailored according to the development needs and social needs of Cameroonians.
Yeah.
That's the first objective. Yeah. If you want to tailor an educational system without regarding those aspects, you fail. That's why we in PUSE, we think that the educational system should actually be merged. We have now currently we have the primary school, the primary,
the nursery, primary,
secondary, university, yeah, and even vocational training.
Yeah.
All those ministries and extend to make sure that all the levels of vocational trainings and all the levels of curriculums are put in place in order to make sure that what we need to attain as objective in our development are attained. Now let's go deeper into the subject and check what do we put in what we call education actually to respond to those, all those challenges. First of all, in my preliminary address, I said that Cameroon is not an independent country. We need, first of all, to make sure that our educational system responds to our identity. So we need to construct and build what is our identity. Yeah. Why do we have to do that? We need to build a Cameroonian free of corruption. We need to build a Cameroonian who think patriotic. We need to build a Cameroonian who makes sure that Cameroon comes first. That's why we need to tailor the curricula, the educational curricula, accordingly. Second thing, we need to make sure that the needs and the curricula are aligned on what we want to achieve in the industrial field, agricultural field, and in the social field. Yeah. If you want to work on maybe iron, we have iron in the East region, but do we have engineers to actually transform what we have in our country? Because the main part of it is that we outsource a value, a chain value out, making us having a gap in the employment field. If you settle a system in which you have jobs, you have defined the educational and vocational training that go for those jobs, and you define which company will actually take all those human resources to employ, you actually see that employment goes related with educational, vocational training. So if you want to tailor a real educational system, you need to think first about what you want to do in the future in your industry, in every other part. Okay. Let me take an example, a concrete example. You know, Cameroon produces cotton.
Sure.
In the north. Do you know that 95% of our cotton is actually exported to Nigeria?
True.
It's exported. Can you imagine 95% of our cotton? Just imagine that in the educational system we say we are going to consume what we produce as clothes and everything. Immediately, the value chain over there is going to produce more than 25,000 employments, more than 25,000 jobs from cotton
30,000
to what?
30,000.
Maybe to what we wear.
Yeah.
Only that. So you cannot imagine a system in which you displace education from employment and vocational training. It's not
possible.
So our viewers are watching us. You are saying that if Serge Espoir Matumba is elected on October 12th, the next measures to be taken on education will be?
Exactly.
To merge?
We are going to merge all those ministries working for nothing.
Okay.
Bring them together, address all the issues of education related to employment and creation of jobs.
Okay. Jean-Baptiste?
Yeah, thank you for the
What is
question.
Hiram? Hiram is the youngest. We can call him the Android. The Android candidate, because he's the youngest, the Benjamin of all the candidates.
I prefer you say the candidate closest to the people, because from the last time we checked, the youth are still the dominantly the majority, constitute the majority of Cameroonians. Now let us go back to what we are talking about, the system of education.
Yes.
We say we have always been saying that the system of education we have now is one of the causes of the poverty that we are experiencing within our nation. One of them. Now, the first thing is no longer a secret, you're saying that the education system we have was created or was set up for us to be clerks in administrations. Was not actually set up for us to actually be competitive or to be productive. So the first thing, besides solving the problem of the number, that is number of schools as per the population, and we need to dive into what is being taught in the classroom.
Okay.
My brother took the right example, the comparative example between what we do when you are 10 in China and what we do when you are 10 in Cameroon.
30.
Sometimes 30. You see so much difference. So much difference. We need to we intend to set up a system that responds to the aspiration of Cameroonians. First of all, unifying the educational system. We have two education subsystems in Cameroon. We have the French educational subsystem and the English sub-educational system. So the first measure is to unify these systems, because this is a major contribution to our identity. We need to solve that problem by unifying the system of education, making sure that we no longer have an Anglophone system and a French system. We have a unity bilingual system of education. That's the first thing. The second thing is to make sure that we are drawing through the STEMs. That is, our system is being imbued by the STEM. That is, science, technology, engineering, mathematics should be at least 75% of what we teach should be geared towards that. Why? Because we need that scientific knowledge. We need that technological knowledge in order to exploit our resources, transform what we have here locally, and respond to our needs. The major problem of unemployment is what? Because we have been formed through our schools to be able, after having up to a doctorate, to go and line up in front of a ministry in order to obtain a job. And that's a sign of sickness. The Cameroonian society is being sick because of that, because of our education system. A student who leaves primary school at least already knows something that can give him an employment. You leave secondary, you can already be productive. What you leave the university level, you can already be productive and employ other Cameroonians. That is another thing we would like to do, is to make sure that the Cameroonian system is promoting local languages.
Okay.
We talk about retrieving our local identity, our original identity as Cameroonians. That is the source of our pride. Unfortunately, by promoting foreign languages, we have slowly been attracted to the Western world as a standard. But Cameroon has many languages, many local languages. Unfortunately, young people fail to get acquainted to this. And
some of them are being taught in schools now, if I'm not making a mistake.
How effective is that? How effective is that, Mr. Yacine? Just go through the statistics.
So how do you intend to make it effective, given that we have over 400 languages in Cameroon?
Yes, we have different regions, we have different departments, and then we think that every dominant languages in the different sub-regions, different units of government are going to be taught, and then bring about Cameroonians get acquainted more and more with their local languages. Now, talking about still about languages, we intend, because we have a Pan-African vision, we need to be able to trade with our African brothers in a language that we all understand. We speak about, let's talk about Swahili in East Africa. Swahili is taught and spoken in about 5 countries that are doing very well economically and socially. And this is one of the languages that we can promote. What about Mandarin? That is the Chinese language. China is no more a secret that China is very dominating in an economic sense. If we want to be equipped to be able to trade,
particular reforms.
I realize I've become a fixture on this table.
No, I'm coming. I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you. Does Tomaino Ndamjoya have any particular reforms that she intends to implement as far as education is concerned, or are you okay with the current structure?
Well, we must understand that this debate is extremely rich, you know, and I want to comfort my brother that you being the party in power, you know, you should be able to have the privilege of tapping from some of these proposals, so that if at all, you know, in case
they are struggling to consolidate power and they are struggling to take power. So,
you know, coming back to this, to your question, one of the greatest reform that I know that candidate Tomaino Ndamjoya is bent on implementing is the reform of, you know, the traditional titles in our country.
Okay.
You know, we have had a lot of tribal wars in this country as a result of, you know, the kind of traditional laws that we have. Not that the laws are bad, but the ways at which administration punctures into traditional activities in our country has been the flame behind a lot of tribal conflict in our country, especially in the Northwest and the Southwest. We must understand, especially from my zone where I come from the Fako region, we all understand that chieftaincy obtention now is monetary. And people don't become chiefs because they merit it, but they are chiefs because they relate or they actually are answerable to the administration in one way or the other. And those are some of the things that Tomaino Ndamjoya has always hammered on, because I think that she herself is a victim of such kinds of practices. And in the pursuit of trying to reform the traditional setup in our country, it builds now a system whereby people can have confidence in their culture. Because if you cannot actually have confidence that the person who is your traditional ruler is somebody who merits that position, then there is a possibility that you cut off completely from your traditional roots. And that is very, very detrimental as long as the health of the country is concerned. And we see some of our brothers and sisters who are in the diaspora who cannot come back home, maybe because one or two of those kind of issues have happened to them. I know a lot of examples like that. And so the reform in the traditional and cultural aspect of the country is one of the backbone of the reforms that Madame Tomaino Ndamjoya is hoping to bring. Another aspect of reform is the reform of industrialization. And we've talked about a lot of different things here on this panel. And I want to emphasize that in order to be able to make sure that industrialization takes place in Cameroon, because industrialization is the backbone of development, you cannot industrialize a country when there is no energy. For example, I was just imagining in my mind that when we come to the studio and as we are talking, the lights go off. How is it going to look like? And it has happened, I'm sure it has happened severally when on the panel. So those are some of the things. And we have natural potentials in this country. For example, the Menchun Fall, which I believe that my brother, you know, mastered that potential properly.
Yes, he mentioned.
The Menchun Fall. I'm coming. So the Menchun Fall statistically has been identified as a potential power hydropower producer that can supply energy to the Central Africa, to the entire Central Africa. Why is it that the Mentrufol has been neglected for all these years? Why do we go and invest billions in Menkim, in Songlulu, and places like that, where there is a natural dam that can produce energy, and from that energy, we can even sell some to the sub-Saharan region and make money for the country? These are the things that Madame Tomalonda intends to reform and to make sure that we utilize some of those natural potentials to build our country into a place, because this natural energy will be used, or this energy sector will be used, it will be divided into two forms. One, the natural energy, for example, the solar energy, the gas energy, and all that, that will be utilized to be able to supply domestic use. And for the hydropower, like the Mentrufol, will be used now to supply energy to the industries. And when you get this kind of power into the industries, it creates automatic employment. It creates industries. And those are the things that she is actually committed to do. And I must continue to emphasize that she is not alone in this pursuit. She has a team of other political parties, like myself, who are around that projection of that vision.
Mr. Afese, we are all underlining that maybe one of the reasons for the massive unemployment is our education. And President Paul Biya is asking for 7 years. What does he intend to do concretely, maybe to ameliorate this sector? Because we have many professional universities, I put them in quotes, today. But then, when you go through the primary, the secondary, and then you don't have that notion of anything like professionalism, you get to the university, and then you are told that you have to do professional education, and those who teach you to do that in those professional universities are those who study general education. Is it not like taking, like one historian said, taking the second step before the first?
Thank you, Mr. Ekoso, for finally giving me the floor. I want to first say I'm happy with the discussions I'm having. It's a rich intellectual intercourse, and I love the atmosphere around the table. To respond to your question, I would like to say the construction of a country is not the fruit of some utopic or wishful thinking. It's a fastidious, painstaking, day by day, month by month, year by year process to get us to a determined, fixed destination. And I think everything has been said here, again, to my surprise and to my agreeable surprise, line up with what His Excellency President Paul Biya has been painstakingly driving this nation towards. We talk about the educational sector. We have had educational reform in this country, which moved us, and today we have professionalization in our education. So we've gone to the LMD form of education. That's a reform. It's a fact.
Yeah.
We have vocational training. A ministry set it aside to bring the vocational training component. It's a fact. Again, I was told that the motorboy is not a driver. But I know that motorboys also sometimes have monies that the driver does not see.
The big passengers.
So these are things, I'm happy to hear all of this around this table. These are things which President Biya has been painstakingly working towards and building and driving this nation towards. These reforms which has been going on steadily and assuredly, be it in the reformation of educational system, vocational training, financing, putting the financial ecosystems around, because you can go and get yourself trained, but now you need financing to get yourself, start your startup or something. Building all the ecosystem needed for youth to be self-reliant. And those things are there. Those are facts. So when he says that this is a matter of greatness and hope, it's not the fruit of some utopic or wishful thinking.
Okay.
It is hinged on structures that have been put in place and reforms that have been ongoing for the emancipation of the youth. So, again, when you ask me the question, what is he going to do? He has been doing. And he will continue to do for the youth. In his manifesto, again, I will refer us to his manifesto, point 4 of his manifesto, which deals with the whole issues of youth employment, youth and women employment, the status of the youth, financing of the youth, involving the youth more and more in the processes of decision-making, and so on and so forth. And those structures are already there. He just has to reinforce them. And I keep saying, if you see the language in his manifesto, you have some words that keep coming around. Strengthening, reinforcing. You don't strengthen what does not exist. You don't reinforce what does not exist. Calling figures 12 billion and 96 billion. Again, I say building a nation is not a product of utopic or wishful thinking. It's not some utopia. A building nation is real hard work, and the head of state has been resolutely working to move the country towards its emergence come 2022.
And there is this other aspects that we still have a lot of government schools, primary schools, for example, nursery primary schools, without a structure. Most of them operating under roofs, attached structures and all that.
Hyacinth.
Yes.
We have building a nation, you have the material aspect of building a nation, you have the immaterial aspect of building a nation. Sometimes you have to make difficult choices within these two contexts, the material aspect of building a nation and the immaterial aspect of building a nation. The will is to get access to education to as many Cameroonians. And in the preamble of his manifesto, he says it. He will not rest until education is accessible, healthcare is affordable and accessible, and all Cameroonians can eat. The will is there to get schools to as closest to the population as possible. The school is created. The buildings will follow.
Okay.
The will is, let us have our students educated.
Okay, thank you so very much. There is one very important aspect I was almost forgetting. Today, primary school is free.
Free.
It's free. All of us, we agree here that today primary school is free.
Free.
Do you intend to maintain that?
It's free.
You are saying that
It's free.
It's free or
It is free.
Constitutionally, legally, it is free.
Reality
What
is
are we talking about?
Primary school.
About primary
Are you
school
sure?
is free.
No, let us be serious.
I don't think so.
What are we really talking about?
I don't think so.
Is it free, like you cannot pay school fees, or you have to pay something?
That there is no school fee. Like
It is free.
government does not
Free, like-
impose any school fee
For primary
at the primary
schools.
school.
What is the role of PTA in those primary schools?
Good. That is where the problem is.
Anyway,
Okay. So you cannot talk about
except
about free
As far as
school.
tuition is concerned,
Yes.
it is free.
Name has been substituted.
all this problem we are facing in this country, the main source of it, apart from education, is matter of corruption and justice. You see, this is the only country in the world where the president is the one commanding magistrate, diverting files according to the color of your head. President Chiroma Bakari, in this level, intend to reform the higher magistrate council by making sure that the president of this council is elected by his peer, magistrate from 1st grade to 4th grade. And one thing important is that to become state council, prosecutor, you must have been lawyer for 5 years. To become a judge, you must have been prosecutor for 10 years. And they must fix delay to judge matters. You have administrative court. They don't take the court of Southwest. How many I will move from Apaya, Ayomojo, to go to Boya to see administrative judge? It's a problem. We need to bring administrative justice closer to the divisions. And we need to cancel this ENA matter and create judiciary professional school and publish results of exams in order of merit and not alphabetically. because most of the time, there are people who do not write exam, but they pass. It is important. If you want to build a strong country, you must offer justice. You must offer justice. So, for all Cameroonians who are listening to us this evening, let them understand that concerning all the exams of all school, results will be published in order of merit. Whether you have failed or you have passed, your note will be mentioned there. So that we'll be sure that it's not by cut-short.
Okay.
You have reached there.
Okay.
President Chuma will ensure that this time you're not motorboy, it will be the one.
Be the driver.
Yes, Bruno. Allow me to bounce on one or two statements my fellow panelists just stated. Why? Someone said you cannot industrialize a country without energy. I think it's Prince Ekoso.
Yes.
Let me go furthermore by saying you cannot industrialize a country without being a sovereign country. Why are we talking about sovereignty here? Let's just watch around us. All the developed African countries, you can take Nigeria, you take South Africa, you take Egypt, all those countries, Kenya, Ethiopia, all those countries have their own currency. What are we doing with CFA, actually? You cannot imagine the impact of CFA on our industrialization, our development, in short. CFA is a main problem, and you cannot define a real economic and industrial growth without talking about currency. So we need to step out from CFA and build up a national currency that will enable us adapt and decide on what kind of project and which direction we are going to take to move forward in our own personal growth. Let me take an example. When you are using CFA, if you want to buy something abroad, if you want to buy for 1 million, prepare 2 million. It therefore means that 50% of your currency stays out of your country. How can you develop with a such situation? Second thing, all the structuring programs or projects in our country has to go through the approval of some imperial countries. Why is it that to have energy in our country, we need to consult or to take take an approval or an agreement from France?
I'm having difficulty with listening.
Let me move on.
When you say approval,
I knew when I was going to touch that point.
When you say approval, is it not an overstatement?
No.
It's not an overstatement.
We're a sovereign nation. We are a sovereign nation.
We are not a sovereign nation. Why are we still in the CFA area? What are we doing there? Knowing the impact of using that currency in our country. Why are we there? Why are we there?
Please, do you know the town where they are producing it? The town of Shamaya, 2,000 inhabitants, is a town where they are producing that France CFA.
That's it. And even talking about energy, Cameroon is the second potential in energy all over the world. You just said it. We have 58 divisions, and all those 58 divisions are carrying names of rivers.
102 rivers available to produce
energy. Why do you think we don't have energy in our country? It's done on purpose. It's done on purpose because if we develop ourselves, we are no more a market, because we are considered now as a market. All the manufactured products coming from Europe and all those places, they come in Cameroon without even paying taxes. It's imagine.
So what does your candidate intend to do about that, concretely?
Concretely?
Yes.
Move out from the CFA.
How?
Let me tell you something.
This is
moving out from CFA.
Economists have had discussions.
Let us not argue.
And when they talk about it, it's as though they have
CFA is a decision. And even
they say where there is a will, there is a means. Maybe
they even said that if you want to move up from CFA, you are free to do so. But which president of the CFA zone is willing to do that. It's a problem of decision.
Okay.
Political decision. If you have the will and the decision, you move forward and you go out from that. I wanted to say a stupid word like stupid CFA. But we need to move out from the CFA to make sure that our sovereignty and our objectives will be taken into account when we go for industrialization and economic development.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Jean-Baptiste? Okay, just a minute. I'll come to you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I said something here a while ago that the construction of a nation is not the product of some utopia or wishful thinking. When I hear my brother on the other side talk, it's as though he has the monopoly or the patent right over this idea of our countries moving away from the CFA. I think our heads of state of CEMAC region have had a number of conferences on this issue, which has been brought to the table on the status of the CFA. That was not a debate this evening.
Of course.
I think we're digressing from our debate this evening. But I just want to say there are many factors that come together for the industrial of a state. It's true. The monetary factor is a big element, but it's not the only element.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
So
you're admitting what I said?
No, I'm saying you don't have monopoly on that. It's not as if you have the patent copyright over that idea.
Okay.
That's not an idea which everybody discusses about.
Yes,
but there are other issues on industrialization which should be celebrated, which our head of state is doing. Again, it's like putting a puzzle together. You find your piece, you find the piece, you put, and we'll finally get to where we are getting to. Our emergence, as said by the head of state, 2035. We have our national industrial plan put in place. We have all this other stuff. We have today. We have the mining sector, which is booming. Industries coming up. Recently, the Prime Minister was in Grand Zambie to launch the mining projects in Grand Zambie. We have energy projects that have been put in place. The techno structure is put in place for this country to take off. Okay. So we should recognize these achievements, which have been by the impulse of the head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya. And we continue doing and we let him continue do what he's doing to lead us to that emergence by 2035, which will integrate all the other aspects which you're bringing to the table today.
Okay. Yes, Jean-Baptiste, I was about to ask you, what do you make of this mad rush to enter the civil service? Because most youths today, when they are not in the civil service, they are not very comfortable. So how do you intend to solve that problem?
Yeah, thank you for that.
If Hiram is elected on the 12th?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's quite unfortunate, as I earlier said, this is just a consequence of a poor education system. But I think we have overdealt on the education system. We will not come back to that. But I think if we perceive Cameroon as a country where we still have to do everything, I think Cameroon is yet to be an industrialized country, and there is a lot of potential. If Cameroonians are being formed to be able to identify where there is a need, where there is a need for action, they will be able to have a different mindset, become job creators instead of job seekers. Look at the different sectors we have. With the avenue of digitalization, there are lots of opportunities being boomed to us, but what is the current state of affairs? Cameroonians are not being trained on how to, unfortunately, maybe not enough, are not being trained on how to make the best use of these opportunities being brought to us. Look at the transport system that we have. Look at the level of digitalization we are currently into. But unfortunately, we are much more, our young people are much more habituated in immediate satisfactions. But who is supposed to be blamed? That's the question. In managing a system or managing a nation, there should be a philosophy. And that particular philosophy is the one that is supposed to animate every citizen. And the person imposing that philosophy is from up. If you bring a form of laxity, if you bring up a laissez-faire system, where everybody does what he likes in your own constituent, your closest collaborators, it's but normal that is being reflected in our own young people. I think you can better understand what I mean here. So what is needed for Cameroonians to become job creators is a reformation not only of the education system as per the academics, but also of the mindset of Cameroonians. And this comes by a top to bottom impulse. If a new philosophy is brought about, a philosophy of revolution in the sense that we need to change, not an apparent change, but a profound change, bringing a new philosophy where Cameroonians need to sit up and look around themselves and know that we are responsible of our own future, not the government. Okay. Not the government, not another person. Everybody is responsible of his or her own well-being. And if that particular philosophy is inculcated in all Cameroonians, there will be less and less people going in for government jobs, and more people fending for themselves in true entrepreneurship and seizing opportunities to make themselves grow.
Okay, Prince, I want us to take an example, and people are watching us. The vulnerable population. I just want to take one example. Street children. When you get to Avenue Kennedy, for example, to take care of those vulnerable population.
I remember there was a time in Yaoundé where an injunction was taken that those street children should be off the streets. And we should understand that there is no individual amongst them who is coming from space. That is to say, they have families, whether in one way or the other. And somebody mentioned about laxity. I want to, there are a lot of things that the current regime has been able to try to do. I must admit to that fact. But the rate of laxity in implementing certain policies is what has recreated problems that is unable for them to be able to manage. For example, there was a time that those street children were actually evacuated out of the streets in Yaoundé. So where are they coming from now again? So when we talk about reforms, and he mentioned rightfully about the different government structures that have been put in place, for example, the Ministry of Town Planning and Urban Development, for example, or the Ministry of how do you call it?
Social affairs.
Social affairs, and the Ministry of Women and Empowerment and all this kind of stuff, which are all aspects that deals with the social aspect of life for Cameroonians, right? Now, I have, like I said, with the candidate, we always discuss about the challenges and the problems and the solutions. We had a discussion one time, we were talking about some of these social problems, and we feel that some of these things are as a result of the lack of will. The lack of will. And when people don't have the will to be able to solve a problem, the problem only grows. So the will of our candidate to be able to solve problems is contingent on the fact that she is working around a team that is committed to solve the problems of the people. Okay. The problem of the street children, we will identify from the various families where they're coming from. And we will send them back to those families. If the reason why they're sending those children or those boys and girls into the streets is because they lack, the economic power, we will be able to identify it directly and solve it in a very direct manner. Okay. So it's as easy as that. Some problems in this country doesn't really need us to go to space to be able to solve them. Okay. They just need some very few consultation, and tick-o-tack, the problem is solved. And that is what she intends to do. I wanted to just add something by saying that somebody mentioned here about the digitalization of the system, which is one of the programs which the candidate has. For example, when you go now on social media, especially in the domain of TikTok, I have been able to visit TikTok consistently. And I use TikTok consistently for political reasons. And I discovered that most of the content within Africa is coming from Nigeria. You have Nigerian films on TikTok, you have Nigerian content on TikTok, you have Nigerian dramas on TikTok. I mean, the African space on TikTok is dominated highly by Nigeria.
Yeah.
My question is, if at all we are talking about digitalization in Cameroon and it is effective, why is it that some of these youths who are content creators are not actually seen to have infest those kind of platforms, which in some arguments, they say those platforms are having monetary benefits, right?
Yeah.
Which can be a form of employment, maybe indirect employment. You know, so these are some of the things that we need to be able to inculcate in the educational system, which my brother has overemphasized on and stuff like that, which is what the candidate is also talking about, digitalizing the system.
Okay.
Once the system is digitalized, then you have potential that will be showing up by themselves, and you only have to guide them to be able to make sure that they can be able to have what it takes to be able to do that.
Mr. Afesi, Prince is trying to say most of these things lack of will. Is it lack of will that children are still littered on different streets across major cities in Cameroon?
Hassan, I have the impression we've digressed from.
No, we are looking at the level of poverty.
Our debate today.
When you look at those children on the road, they need basic needs.
I'm going to answer a question.
Of course.
We're discussing here social issues.
Yeah.
And the response of the gentleman, my vis-a-vis, make me feel as though social issues, solutions, it's not like switching off a light and the light goes off or switch it off and it comes on. Social issues, you have to deal with trends, you have to deal with behavioral issues, you have to deal with a number of intangible issues to be able to address properly a social issue.
Yeah.
The issue of children in the streets, I'm happy that my brother and friend mentioned the fact that these are issues that have been taken on by the government in place, by the regime in place, and solutions tried and even had effect at some point with these children taken off the streets. Again, these are things which social issues you deal with recurrently, because you don't have, like I said again, I'll repeat myself, a knee-jerk defense or a switch-on, switch-off kind of solution to social issues, which are issues of really trends. Trends which can happen at a particular time because of different factors that come together for that trend to be rocked. It's like a pandemic, like an epidemic. You can do the epidemic today, and 10 years down the road, you have some issues, that factors that come together for that epidemic to be recurrent. And you just have to deal with it and move on. I think the state is doing that. And the Ministry of Social Affairs recently, again, has been drumming on the whole issue, has been moving hard on the whole issue of street children. A whole campaign was done with children who are employed during holidays. You see young children carrying granates on their head to do hawking, to hawk on the streets. Those issues have been issues that the government has not stopped sensitizing families upon, and I like the fact that he
Does this suffice to sensitize?
Not just sensitization. The government has taken measures to deal with the issues of street children or children who are used for child labor, if I can use that term. So again, like I said, social issues are issues which you can have a knee-jerk response to.
Okay.
The trends that you have to deal with on a recurrent basis.
Okay, before we move to corruption, Barrister, there is this sector, the commercial motorbike sector,
Yes.
that has absorbed many of our youths with certificate and all that. Your president, your candidate wants to be president.
Yes.
What does he intend to do with that sector, particularly?
First of all, before reaching that aspect, we're talking about children of the street.
Yes, maybe you threw in just...
An emergency situation solution is that normally for a country which aspire greatness, you must settle compulsory military service at the age of 18 for 6 months. It's because we need to reset our moral. And I indicated earlier that there is a youth avenue allowances of 100,000 per child from the age of 10 to the age of 29, financed by the levy of 2 francs per minute of calls and connection of internet. That means we will not be facing those type of problems.
Okay.
Now, concerning commercial motorbike, most of them are there not because they won, but because They have been going to school where they obtain certificate. Finally, inability to have job. It is important to reduce the price of their tires, first. Secondly, it is important for those who are not above 29 to benefit, because it is only a matter of law. I was very happy with Mr. Lombard when he said that it's a matter of will. If tomorrow, when tomorrow, Mr. President Bakari is elected, we enact the law in the parliament. Infrastructure are being put to place in the Ministry of Telecommunication. And then everybody will be finding himself, because most of them who are driving bike, they will be having a problem of respiration. So many problems are gathered by driving a bike. We can orientate them in agriculture, poultry, and therefore we will improve a lot of things.
Okay.
And most of the time, this matter of bike driver come because of poor condition of infrastructure. Because I remember...
There are areas where you cannot go with a car.
Yes, because I remember the years 1990, I was just 9 years old. There were quarters in Douala you couldn't reach without bicycling. If we ameliorate the infrastructure conditions, you see that we will move them from this particular aspect to set them in aspect into which their health and their condition can be easily improved. That's the solution that President Chioma Bakari intends to bring about it.
Okay, maybe just briefly, let's. I will know when to go into the. Let's touch corruption. We are living in a country where every day we hear efforts to fight corruption, but it persists. How do you intend to tackle that particular aspect?
You know, corruption is, first of all, a question of mindset. And when we talk about mindset, you come back to the educational system.
Yeah.
That's why we intend to have and to promote one identity for Cameroonians. Which kind of Cameroonian do we want to have in our country? Do we want to have corrupted people? Do we want to have corruptors? Which kind of Cameroonian do you want to have? That's why we need to tailor our education, because we think that all those issues stems out from the fact that the educational system is not well tailored for us to have what we need and what we are looking for in the future. That's why, and we come back to that issue of taking into account those children in the streets. What we are proposing in our manifesto is that what we consider as children, you understand that those guys are mostly descolarized. They are no more going to school. It therefore means that we need to put in place a mechanism in which we can actually take care of those children and train them according to the vision of human resource that we need in various aspects, in various sectors of our society. That's why in our manifesto we say, from the post-primary, before secondary school, we need to put in place a mechanism to absorb all those children. And even after secondary, post-secondary, and before university, we also need to put in place a mechanism to resolve and train those guys, because they are actually human resource, and we need human resource to resolve all the problems of unemployment and job seeking. Okay.
Jean-Baptiste, do you have the impression that we are romancing corruption in Cameroon instead of really fighting it the way we are supposed to tackle it? And if so, how does your candidate intend to combat this very phenomenon?
Thank you for using the word romancing, because what we are currently experiencing with the efforts that are not negligible of the current regime in fighting against corruption is the fact that we don't go to the root of corruption itself. My brother spoke about the education system, and I would like to talk about patriotism. Okay. If we build Cameroonians who love their country, we will not ask them not to steal. They will know that they will not steal, because they know why the money is meant for, why the money is available and what it is meant for. And if you really love your country, you will not steal. Because corruption has done a lot of damages in our society. We talk about taxes being evaded because of corruption. We speak about work poorly done because attributed to the wrong persons because of corruption. We think about our coffers being emptied because of corruption. We speak about a rise of incompetency in all our systems, many of the systems, because of people acquire jobs not because of their merit, but through corruption. Now, what do we intend to do to fight against corruption? The first thing we are proposing is a digitalized system. A digitalized system. Why are we still losing a lot of money, especially through taxes? Because we are still using the manual means of payment that is actually a fertile ground for corruption. Now, with a digitalized system, we have a creation of a unique digitalized identifiant per citizen, which will interoperate with all services, that is health, education, taxes, employment, justice, at all levels, will be able to curb corruption to a higher extent. And still, digitalization will be a remedy for the delays in justice cases, let's say law cases. Yeah. Why? We will see there is a lot of delay. Barrister is well placed to respond to that. There's a lot of delay in processing the documents when we have a case. But with a digitalized system, we have all suits being arranged, and all the people concerned have access to the documents, and everything flows in less than no time. Now, still in the fighting against corruption, I think what happens when we talk about corruption, we talk about embezzlement. What happens to the funds being stolen? That's the question. There is a law. I know there's a current law that says that when you give back, you refund what you are stolen, you are free. Now, to what extent do we really retrieve the money stolen? We speak sometimes about billions of franc CFA going away through embezzlement, going away through theft, thanks to corruption. Now, we intend to make sure that all the money being stolen are being retrieved to the coffers of the state, and we compel the perpetrators of corruption, those found guilty, to invest part of it into job creation so as to make Cameroonians benefit from that. And by so doing, we are very sure that we shall be fighting against corruption and bringing about a more just society for all Cameroonians. Okay,
Prince, suppose Tomainon Damjoa is elected on October 12th. How do you intend to tackle this very cankerworm of corruption digging deep into the Cameroonian society?
I may want to answer this question from a very strange angle. Okay. I will start by asking a question that, do we really have corruption in Cameroon? It's a rhetoric question. I remember when I was still very young, they were talking about corruption in Cameroon, and certain mechanisms were put in place to fight or to tackle corruption. And one of those areas of corruption is the issue of embezzlement. And I asked myself a question: what is the meaning of embezzlement? Is it just a word that is used to be able to frighten Cameroonians, or is it a word that actually translates to certain actions by those people who are allegedly embezzlers? I must be honest to say here that when I look at President Biya's modus of operation, I have the impression that he's a good man. He has good plans for Cameroon. Okay. But his plans have been thwarted. And he is conscious of the fact that those plans have been thwarted.
Thwarted by?
When I say thwarted, by those who he's working with.
The motor voice in quote?
The motor boys.
So
who do they want to become drivers?
So I feel, I've said this severally, I'm not trying to be very, very mean on President Biya, but to be honest, I have said this several times, that I feel sorry for President Biya. Why? Because, you know, he finds himself in a situation where, as the years go by, he's unable to be able to implement certain things.
Okay.
And I will not answer the question.
Okay.
Hypothesis.
Please try to learn.
He's still coming.
We are running out of time.
You see,
try to learn.
That's
please.
why some of these debates are not always enough, because we have plenty of information to give to Cameroonians.
We still have 1 week. We shall have more time.
I know. So what I'm saying is that, you know, in terms of corruption, corruption is one of the most minimal situations in Cameroon to fight against.
Okay.
My brother just mentioned about the digitalization of the system, which is one of the points of our manifesto, which we cannot overemphasize on that. If President Biya has the will to make sure that corruption is resolved, I bet you, with the kind of powers that the Constitution gives to him, he will not need 24 hours to resolve the problem of corruption.
Okay.
Which means that if Tomanon Damdoya is president tomorrow, after the 12th of October, we will not need 24 hours to be able to implement the curbing of corruption in the country.
Okay.
And that is why the issue of employment of people who have a different mindset is important. I'm not trying to be able to continue to throw flowers on my brother, but he's one of the young Cameroonians that I've known over the years. He's on the far right from my political opinion. I'm from the far left. But when I look at him, I feel like,
you have something in common.
why is this man not being absorbed in the real potential that he has?
Okay.
Being the president of the National Youth Council is something, but ending there is nothing.
He's no longer there anyway.
He's no more there. That's why I say ending there is nothing. I want to recommend here on this pulpit that the CPDM and President Biya should consider, if at all, they win as usual.
Okay.
No, now
Excuse me.
Please.
They should consider absorbing young people like my brother who have ideas that are actually languishing within the CPDM, for us to be able to have competence within the context of a new generation that can implement certain policies.
Okay.
Because the issue of corruption is as a result of lack of implementation of policies.
Okay. Thank you so very much. We don't have time, unfortunately. Let me start with you. In a sentence.
So I will not talk about corruption.
Anyway.
Just to thank my brother for the recommendation he's made publicly for me, but to reassure him that our national chairman knows the human resource at his disposal and knows how and when to use who, where, and when, and where.
And just to indicate that in 2023, we lost over 104 billions to corruption, and in 2024, we lost just about 4 billion.
And to tell you, no, some people don't realize Cameroon is one of the countries with the best structures for the fight against corruption. Okay. We have at least 6: ANIF, CONAC, TCS, Consupe, all of that. And we have the National Strategy for the Fight Against Corruption that produces an article every year on the state of the fight against corruption, with 3 phases. Number 1, what is being done in terms of prevention of fight against corruption. Number 2, the sanctions. Number 3, the recovery, which my brother was talking about. 2024, in the report, what the state recovered in terms of corruption was 5,627,344,111 francs. Yeah. The year prior, 2023, was about 8.6 billion recovered. So the state is doing a lot in the fight against corruption. Maybe Cameroonians don't read it. They said if you want to hide something from Cameroonians, put it in writing. They won't read. They won't know that it's happening. And I think that's the problem we're having with the fight against corruption in Cameroon today. Okay, we will not leave without giving you the mic as well. If your president is taking power tomorrow, will he empower the
current structures that are fighting against corruption, or he will totally bring in different structures?
We'll bring in different structures. I tell you earlier that we need to free justice. Okay. Because all those things, CONAC and NIF and so on, publish what you pay. You see, we are just coming from 2020 to 2025. The Supreme Magistrate Council has not got even one meeting. One meeting. One.
Okay. Okay.
And you see, we need to reform justice. And President Chioma Bakari has assured me that as he's sworn in, he will release justice to justice, okay, and not to politics.
Okay, Barrister Jedone?
So that when somebody will commit a mistake, it will be sanctioned immediately. Not that when he's not more with you, we could be sanctioned. He went to this, he went to this.
Okay.
We don't want that.
Barrister Jedone?
Yes.
You look at that camera.
Yes.
Tell Cameroonians in few words, why do you think Issa Chiroma Bakari is the best choice for Cameroon right now? President
Issa Chiroma Bakari is the best choice for Cameroon because together we will work to build a new country into which people will be to power, and country into which will be consulted in every decision we'll be making. Citizens will be in the center of all policy implement. That's why you must cast your ballot for him. Thank you so much, Bruno. Serge Espoir Matumba, do you think he is the man of the moment?
Yeah, first of all, because related to this situation of corruption, we're not going to have a NIF, CONAC, and all those words. Okay. We're going to bring all those structures in one and make sure that the structure that is created has the power to sue all those that are... President. Even him, okay, to sue all those that are maybe guilty of embezzlement and all those matters. Okay. Now, why Matumba is the best candidate? Matumba is the best candidate only because he's fighting for our freedom, okay, freedom of Cameroon. Because we think that Cameroon needs to be an independent country in order for us to make sure that our destiny is our own hands and make sure that every decision and everything that is going to be done is done to make sure that Cameroonians are living in better conditions in our country. Okay. Why do you think we need to make Mr. Hiram Samuel Yodi the first statesman to run this nation?
Maybe before giving you the last...
Please, there's no time. There's no time. The producer is already signaling.
Okay. I think to sum this debate, we think all Cameroonians aspire for change. We need change, and we think we need to give the chance to a new generation of Cameroonians with a new vision that is a complete rupture from the old system and a vision that gives to Cameroonians the dignity they deserve, the dignity that they fundamentally have. And this person that is able to unleash the potential of Cameroonians, the potential of Cameroon as a nation, is Samuel Hiram Yodi, the FDC candidate.
Thank you so much, Prince. Do you think that Madame Tomaino Ndamjoya should be the lady of the moment we are conferring this country, at the moment that is faced with socio-economic situation and everything?
Since 2021, I have seen Madame Hermine Tomaino Ndamjoya work with 7 or 6 men on the issues concerning the electoral code. I've seen her solve problems of men since 2021. I've seen her as a vibrant woman, tenacious, risk taker. I've seen her as a woman who actually has a heart for humanity. I've seen her as a very humble and transparent and open woman. And in my mind, and in the minds of Cameroonians, through whom her politicking has really touched, I have no doubt that she has what it takes to be able to lead this country. And in my view, I believe that if Cameroonians give her their word and their trust on the 12th of October, she will definitely be one of the best leaders in the continent of Africa.
Okay. Afese, 43 years after, do you think Cameroonians should give President Biya another 7 years, and why?
Absolutely. And I like the fact that you pronounce 43 years, because 43 years talks about experience, talks about know-how. I have admired and I've loved the exchange we've had on this table today, because it has given us snippets of what is the program, what is contained in the programs of each of our fellow compatriots on the table in the different political offers. And I will say what I said at the beginning. I have the impression that these are pill copies of President